It was only when I started speaking to disabled people, visiting buildings, identifying issues, that I was really horrified at the problems that are out there. The ordinary person on the street probably wouldn't have a clue.
Did you know that in the UK there are over 40 million people that have some sort of disability and over 100,000 in the city of Liverpool alone? Accessibility still remains a huge problem in today's society, even in a city as diverse and modern as this. Before meeting Phil Peel and interning for his company, The Accessible Guide, I was blissfully ignorant to the obstacles and struggles disabled people tackle in their everyday lives. I never realised how many places still aren't accessible for wheelchair users. Phil is affected directly by this issue and decided to do something about it.
Right, I'm Phil Peel. I'm nearly 45 this year. Nearly 45. I will be 45 this year. I was born not with cerebral palsy, but I had meningitis when I was a couple of months old, and a side effect of that, a lasting side effect, is cerebral palsy. So I grew up, I walked until I was about 14, and then started using a wheelchair when I was about 14, 15. I'm glad it happened back then, because I think I would have struggled a bit more. As you get older, as a kid, you just take it in your stride. Yeah. The Accessible Guide is on a platform that we launched in March, beginning of March. Think TripAdvisor, but they have to be accessible to go on there. If they don't offer any access for any type of disability, they won't go on. Any establishment, business or venue or charity, whatever they provide for disabled people, they'll go on the platform. For like cafes, bars, restaurants, they have to have some level of access. I've done a lot of travelling, mainly around Europe and in America, and it was really them experiences of travelling, mainly in Europe, finding somewhere accessible that met my requirements was often quite difficult. So there's a lot of places in the city centre, and well, not just the city centre, but to be fully accessible, in our opinion, you need an accessible toilet facility.
Yeah, that's a basic requirement.
Yeah, and there's hundreds, maybe not hundreds, but there's a lot of places without. There's one, again, I can't actually remember the name of it. It's in Woolton Village, and we were in there a couple of years back. I knew it was all accessible, went to the toilet, and then needed the key. And then a couple of hours later, went up to get the key again, and the barman's like, "Oh mate, the disabled toilet's out of order." No, it wasn't an hour ago, and now it's been out of order for like 3 weeks. And it's not. I've been here a few hours, as you know, but when I went in again, it wasn't out of order. They just lumbered a load of coats, and it was just all the staff just put all the coats and bags in there.
Phil believes the local authorities aren't doing enough to tackle the issue of accessibility and has tried to bring this to them on multiple occasions.
I think they need to enforce the law more. I say that there's still places opening up and that you've seen that don't meet the Equality Act, and it's an act, it's law. If they don't meet it, how are they getting licences?
So after interning at Phil's company and learning more about this issue and how big of an issue it actually is, I wanted to find out more about Phil's claims that the city council isn't doing enough and how local authorities could be doing more, and how he still sees business opening that don't have disability access. So I decided to investigate this claim further and try to get some evidence surrounding it. So I filed a Freedom of Information request to the City Council. I asked for the following information. How many business licences has the Liverpool City Council approved for new businesses within the last year? And how many of these approved businesses have disability access? As you can see here, I filed the Freedom of Information request the 22nd of February. So we're coming up almost 3 months now and I've heard nothing back, and they told me they would reply. They told me they would aim to reply by the 23rd of March, so we're over a month now and I still haven't heard anything back from them. But luckily I've got in touch with Graham Garnett. He's the inclusivity officer who works for the council, who deals with disability access across the whole city. He's agreed to speak to me and be part of the documentary, so we're going to take the questions directly to him and see what he has to tell us.
My name's Graham Garnett and I'm the Inclusive Design Officer at Liverpool City Council. My responsibility is all around access for disabled people. So my role is to ensure that Liverpool as a city becomes more accessible.
Overall, how inclusive would you say Liverpool is as a city?
I think Liverpool is very inclusive, but there's a long way to go. There's a lot of work that we need to do. I think there's always been an ambition to make the city of Liverpool accessible and inclusive. But yeah, I think if you were to ask disabled people, I think some people might have a view that it's inaccessible.
At the minute, there are quite a few places that aren't accessible in Liverpool. I have like a list of some here: the Shipping, Meader, Chalba, Barrington, Sakara. Is it not somewhat the council's responsibility to address this? Or?
No, so the council has got limited powers as to what we can actually ask of businesses, of service providers, providers of goods. So the only way the council can intervene on accessibility issues in relation to private businesses is when they apply for planning permission. Is it the council's responsibility? Only at the planning point of view, the planning stage, I should say.
So, if a business wants to open in Liverpool, does it have to come to the council to get a business license? Or how does that work?
That would be a licensing matter, but...
Like, do they have to go through the council at all to open in Liverpool?
It depends on the type of business that it is.
Like a bar or a restaurant?
It would need licensing.
From the council?
From the council, yeah.
And does the council check if these places meet the basic requirements for accessibility before they give the license?
Not from a license. Well, it's a licensing matter, so I don't know what their checks are that they carry out. From a planning point of view, if it's a new business with a new function, so if it's a former bank that's being converted into a hotel, that's a change of use. So that would need planning permission. So they'd need to come to the council to request permission to change that building from a bank into a hotel. If it's just an existing bar or restaurant and it's changing into a different bar and restaurant, we'd have no opportunity as a planning authority to negotiate or influence any changes. I think there's always more the councils can do. I'm trying to stay positive, but I think one of the problems all councils have got right now is we've had 12-15 years of austerity. So Liverpool is one of the councils that's managed to retain an inclusive design officer in post. The majority of councils no longer have an inclusive design officer or access officer or something similar. So I think in terms of are we doing enough, I think we're doing as much as we can do. We engage with local disabled people and their representative organisations every 6 weeks. We have a corporate access forum where when there's new developments, major new developments, we give those groups, those individuals an opportunity to challenge developers, to challenge architects, to make sure that they're providing the level of accessibility that is expected by disabled people. Again, very, very few councils have anything similar to that. So we are doing a lot as a council, and I just wish we could do more. Genuinely wish we could do more.
Yeah, I'm conflicted. After speaking with Phil and intern for his company and seeing the problems myself, I can see where he's coming from. For him and others with disability, I can see how it seems like the council aren't doing enough and maybe they could do more. But after speaking with Graham, I can tell he's passionate about the issue and really cares and wants to make a change. I think the council are slightly restricted by the law and their lack of funding. I think at the end of the day we need to put more pressure on the businesses themselves to meet the basic access requirements, and if they don't meet them, we need to shame them. I also think we have a bigger role to play as a society. More of us need to care. We need to use some empathy and open our eyes a bit to the issues that are going on. It's time to force change and remove the stigma, because it's not going to happen if we don't.
Part of me think it's image. A lot of people there's still like a stigma about disability, and from my personal opinion, I think places don't want a lot of disabled people inside, which is wrong.
I just think disabled people are seen as second-class citizens. We're not seen as a priority. Basically, I don't think there's enough education around disability. I think they're just ignorant, to be honest. I think they don't realise how much money that they're missing out on because they're not accessible to disabled people.
I think certain businesses see accessibility as a nice to have, but only if we can afford it. A lot of businesses, and I see it all the time in the city centre, they've clearly spent tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, on fancy chandeliers, on the best kitchen that you can get, on fancy tiles, but then they've really scrimped on the quality of the accessible toilet, or they've not got a ramp that meets the required standards, or they haven't put a lift in. I wish there was more happening nationally to address this problem, because it's certainly not a local problem. It's a global problem.